This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. Welcome on in. I'm Chase Sr., and here's what we have coming up. This afternoon, a significant development on the Robert Saleh front in the Niners' pursuit of him to become the defensive coordinator to take over for Nick Sorensen. Also on the back half of the show, could the Niners bring back a familiar face and sign cornerback D.J Reed to help replace Charvarius Ward? Excited that all of you are hanging out here with me, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in. Thanks for watching the show. Let's begin on the Robert Saleh front. He has a second interview set up with the Jacksonville Jaguars this week, but the Jags might already have their guy. Rick Stroud, who does a great job of covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, tweeting this out on Tuesday afternoon on this beautiful January 21st, that the Buccaneers, the team that he covers, are preparing for their offensive coordinator, Liam Cohen, to be offered the Jacksonville Jaguars job. Wouldn't be a far trip from Tampa to Jacksonville. Here's what Stroud had to say. Cohen could be offered the Jags head coaching job as early as Wednesday when he interviews for the second time with the club. Doug Peterson was fired after 3 years and a 4-13 record in 2024. Jacksonville also has a scheduled second interview with Raiders defensive coordinator Patrick Graham on Thursday and former Jets coach Robert Saleh on Friday. But there's a growing belief that it's Cohen's job to lose. Not only were the Jaguars impressed with the 39-year-old offensive coordinator when he interviewed virtually a week ago, he's also most equipped to resurrect the career of quarterback Trevor Lawrence. And that's why a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about these NFL head coaching openings, I had said, I think Liam Cohen is the best fit for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think that Ben Johnson's going to go there because he doesn't want to have to inherit Trent Baalke. For Liam Cohen, his market isn't like Ben Johnson's, which he's one of the most sought-after head coaching candidates that we've seen in recent memory because of how elite of an offensive mind he is. For Cohen, the resume is a little bit different. Very impressive, but not up there with Ben Johnson's. And so for Cohen, has an opportunity to land one of 32 head coaching jobs in the world in the National Football League. And I really like what he's done throughout his coaching career and who he's been under as an assistant coach prior to this year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. More on Cohen. He's 39 years old, Buccaneers offensive coordinator this year, taking over for Dave Canales, who was the OC last year under Todd Bowles. What Dave Canales was able to do with the Panthers and Bryce Young to get Bryce Young back on track was very impressive. And so to replace Canales with Cohen, it's a really good hire by this Buccaneers organization. And this year, Cohen, what a terrific job he did of maximizing Baker Mayfield to the extent that Baker was a top 10 quarterback statistically and with the eye test this season. The Buccaneers' rushing offense as well, led by a rookie running back in Bucky Irving, was also legit. So they were creative and modern with their passing game, but they were physical and successful in running it as well. Going back to Cohen's time at Kentucky, he did a great job as an assistant, quarterbacks coach, offensive coordinator, of developing Will Levis while with the Wildcats. And I always like to say this. My previous job, I covered Penn State. Will Levis could not beat out Sean Clifford for the starting quarterback job with the Nittany Lions. He goes to Kentucky and under Mark Stoops puts up really good numbers to the point where he was a first-round pick a couple of years ago by Tennessee, and he's not a starting caliber quarterback at the NFL level, at least right now. But Cohen was a part of the great production from Levis, so he worked with Levis, good production. Then he teams up with Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield loved him so much that a couple of weeks ago he told Rick Stroud, I'm going to have to take him to the golf course. I'm going to have a conversation with him to try to convince him to stay with the Buccaneers because what Baker did this year was very impressive. And then Cohen also, this is important for organizations out there, a Sean McVay understudy. We see the Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan fingerprints all across the league on the offensive side of the football. Cohen was the Rams offensive coordinator with the Rams back in 2022. Now, if I was the Jaguars, this is the route that I would go. I'd go Cohen over Robert Saleh because of the investment that the organization made in Trevor Lawrence, the talent and the potential that he has. I'm not writing off Trevor Lawrence yet because he was looked at as a generational prospect coming out of Clemson. What he did at Clemson, winning a natty, one of the top teams in the country, production-wise, numbers-wise, when you look at the film, the body type, the arm strength, he really does have it all. And Cohen is a young offensive mind who can get Lawrence back on track. If he did it with Will Levis, he did it with Baker Mayfield, odds are he can maximize Lawrence as well. And the Jags signed him recently to that 5-year, $272 million contract. And so why would you bring in Saleh, who's a defensive guy, even if he hits on offensive coordinator, if Lawrence does perform well, that OC is going to leave in a year or two. Then you have to reset. For Lawrence, he needs some level of consistency, coaching-wise, and continuity with that coaching staff, and Cohen can give him that. And Cohen's work furthermore with Mayfield. Baker set career highs with 4,500 passing yards in 2024. He threw a career high 41 touchdowns. He did lead all starters with 16 interceptions, but he also completed 71.4% of his passes. And Baker went from being a quarterback who had lost his way. At Oklahoma, so much swag, so much confidence. With the Browns, he led them to their first playoff victory for the first time since Bill Belichick was the coach in the early 1990s. And then he got banged up. Coaching wasn't there. Roster talent around him wasn't there. He lost his confidence. He goes to Carolina. He doesn't last there. He goes out to the Rams. Teams up with Sean McVay. He's a backup there. He comes to Tampa Bay. Last 2 years, he has performed and played very, very good football. And for Lawrence, we've seen glimpses of it, right? I mean, in 2021, as a rookie, he comes into the league, and yeah, he throws 12 touchdowns, 17 picks. But then the following year, you're like, okay, this is who Lawrence can become. Completed 66% of his passes, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Some inconsistencies in 2023, got banged up toward the end of the year, and because of that, the Jags faltered down the stretch, and then this year, it was a disaster for that whole team. They lost so many close games. Lawrence got banged up on a couple of occasions. Season cut short, only played 10 games, and because of that, 11 touchdowns, 7 picks. As for how all of this impacts the Niners and Robert Saleh, well, obviously, if Liam Cohen gets this Jaguars head coaching job, Saleh doesn't get it. And so if he doesn't land that gig, I don't think he's going to get the Raiders head coaching job. That leads to a good chance that Robert Saleh will be the 49ers defensive coordinator in 2025, and then that means that the Niners get their guy, and they get arguably the best defensive mind at the defensive coordinator spot during this coaching hiring cycle. So let's put together a Saleh prayer circle. If you want him to be the Niners defensive coordinator, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video right now. We'll talk D.J. Reed here just in a couple of moments, but first, our sponsor for today's show, our friends at Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy sports app in the game. And why I love Prize Picks, they make daily fantasy sports so easy. You choose more or less on 2 or more players and their projected stat lines, and right now you can win up to 1,000 times your money. And right now, when you play $5, you get $50 instantly. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. And with Prize Picks right now, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. The big game is almost here. It's now or never. Don't miss out on the last football game of the season with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching the big game. And isn't this crazy? We have 3 football games remaining until we look ahead to the 2025 season. Our card that we like for Commanders Eagles, let's go Jayden Daniels, more than a half passing yard. That's the Prize Pick special this week. Terry McLaurin, more than a half rushing or receiving touchdown. And then A.J. Brown finds the end zone. He's been cold so far in the playoffs. Eagles passing game a little bit lackluster. More than a half rushing and receiving touchdown as well. So pick more, pick less, pick Prize Picks. Run your game with Prize Picks. Head to prizepicks.com/CLNS. That's code CLNS and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. We move forward with today's show. Could we see a reunion with D.J. Reed? San Francisco being linked to the free agent cornerback formerly of the New York Jets, and they drafted him back in the 5th round in 2018. And with D.J. Reed, pretty interesting player here and a very solid cornerback over the last few years. He played 31 games with the Niners, 2 starts during his 2 years with San Francisco after they drafted him in that 5th round. And then he was waived prior to the 2020 season with a non-football injury designation. He latches on with the Seattle Seahawks. He plays there 2020, 2021. He performed very well up in the Pacific Northwest, inside the NFC West, and then he used that time with Seattle and the really good play there to land a 3-year, $33 million contract with the New York Jets. And we're starting to put some links together here, right? He went to the Jets. Who was the head coach then? It was Robert Saleh. So the thought here, Diamador Lenore and Renardo Green are the Niners' cornerbacks of the future. But the Niners also need to add cornerback depth. Reed is a great fit from that standpoint. He's a good scheme fit, and he played some of his best ball of his career under Robert Saleh. Could he follow Saleh, and could Saleh have some sway to bring D.J. Reed back to San Francisco? Charvarius Ward is going to get paid in free agency, and while Reed has been one of the top corners in the game over the last few years, I don't think his market is going to be as vast and as expensive as Mooney Ward's. Ward also said that he wants to kind of have a fresh start after the family tragedy that him and his family had to deal with this year. And so even if the Niners were willing to pay him, I think the writing's on the wall that Ward will go somewhere else. And outside of Lenore, Renardo Green, and Darrell Luter Jr., every other corner on this Niners roster is going to be a free agent. And yeah, you can find some good corners in the draft, but you can also find a quality corner who you'll have to give a pretty penny to in D.J. Reed, but a good scheme fit, good culture fit, good player, and again, he could follow Robert Saleh. So if the Niners do hire Saleh, Reed could obviously follow here. He also has positional versatility. He could play inside. He can play outside. He did turn 28 years old in November, so still a solid age at the cornerback spot. I do like that positional versatility because Diamador Lenore can also play inside, outside. So you can mix and match those players. Reed this year did play 880 snaps total for New York. 803 of them were out wide. He's a little bit of a shorter player, 5'9", 5'10", but he's shown that he can survive out there, and he was a really good corner opposite of Sauce Gardner. And Reed in 2024 was top 18 in completion percentage, pass breakups, and he also had 6 TFLs. So he's tough, rugged, hard-nosed. He'll stick his hat in there. He can play against the run, and the Niners really like corners who can do that. Renardo Green, Diamador Lenore, those types of players. Reed in 2024 furthermore. Overall Pro Football Focus grade of 70.7. That ranked 43rd among 223 corners. He had a run defense grade of 71.8, really good. 43rd as well. A pass rush grade of 71.8. That was 29th at the position. And a coverage grade of 70.1. That was 47th. All of those numbers, according to PFF, well in the green. So the plan here, hire Robert Saleh, sign D.J. Reed. Your cornerback room is then Diamador Lenore, Renardo Green, D.J. Reed. Maybe you add another player in free agency and or the draft. You get a defensive end. You get a defensive tackle. Boom. Better coaching, more depth, more star-level players, and this defense could be back to what it was under Saleh and under D'Amico Ryans. Be sure to give me a follow on X and Instagram at Chase_Senior. Let's get to 15K followers on X. Got to get there. And then approaching 37,000 followers on Instagram.